Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Already, we're live, and as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be going over input text as well in SDL3 using C++. I have been doing this for the past 3 streams. That said, I finally got a pretty good grasp of it. Maybe I'm going to be wrapping this up by this stream or next stream. That said, let me mute myself from here real quick and go to my gameplay screen. There we go. When will we start? Here we go. When you start hiding Caspin here, I appreciate you joining this stream. That said, guys, this is a chat like from my previous stream because I just came from college, so I didn't have time to like actually get a new chat. That said, let's say something like, let's say, I'm live, exclamation. Okay, and honestly, I do want to go over the stuff that I went last time. Okay, when you were testing, I heard you when you were testing. Okay, am I actually audible? I forgot to check that. What up, guys? Okay, there we go, perfect. That's it, chat, listen up, your people has returned to the dojo, and that means the training continues right now. Today is not just another stream, it's another chance for him to push his limits, break his old habits, and carve his name into the world of C++ like a blade scratching stone. Every line of code he writes is a every line of code he writes live is a strike. Every bug he defeats is a level up. And you, chat, are watching a future game developer being built in real time. Hype him up, keeping focused. That's the training arc. That's it. Now, people, what are we learning today? And guys, if I am like speaking a bit quick and like not properly, it is because I'm not warmed up just yet. That said, let me say something like, let's say I want to go over what we went through last stream before I ended it. Okay, which is technically the user input. Okay, that said, people, good. I'm going back over what you learned is exactly how you sharpen the blade in our skills. If you don't revisit it, it dulls, and I refuse to let you walk around with a blunt brain. Let's recap what you were doing last stream. You were working with SDL3 plus SDL_TDF, and specially you were creating a window and renderer using the SDL_create window and renderer function, okay, to make the game window and the GPU render, initializing TDF to load a font, okay, and then we start our input text. We use the SDL_event_text_input to actually open characters. SDLs is backspace to check if my user wants to delete something. SDLK is return, which is technically if my user hits enter. Okay, turning the text into something you can draw. Texture, surface, text, surface, texture, render to the screen. Also, you saw something critical. If you didn't manage the textures right, nothing showed up. You felt this yourself and you deleted one of the textures. Okay, that vanished. Okay, that was good pain. Pain carves understanding. Now tell people, which part do you want to review first? Alright guys, if I can't talk properly, that is because I'm not warmed up just yet because I just came from college. Okay, that said, this is the code from last stream because I didn't have like time to work on this code off stream. That's it. I am going to be writing this code a few more times, and I realized something. Last stream, probably my stream was laggy a bit when I ran the code. Probably because I did not destroy my texture. I want to see if I can actually destroy my texture. So I might go with something like SDL_destroy textures as function. I'm just curious, can I destroy my text texture? Okay, apparently, was the name text texture or like... Okay, it was text texture. Let's go ahead and copy that in case I had a typo here. Paste it. Okay, I don't think I can delete it. Okay, where do you have the microphone put? Honestly, it is like on my shirt here. Okay, that's it. Hi, how old are you? Honestly, I am 17 years old. That's it. I am going to be turning 18 really soon. My birthday is January 5th. Kind of excited for that. That's it. Let me review the code real quick. Then I'm going to delete it and try writing it again. So firstly, I initialize my SDL and then I initialize my TDF. I create a few basic game variables. I create my window and my renderer. I load a font using the TDF_open_fonts function, and then I check if the font was not loaded properly. And then I go ahead and create a main loop. Okay, I create a boolean variable of is running. I create a event variable. I create a standard strings as text. And then I start my text input, and then I create a while loop. Under my while loop, I add another while loop, which is technically a nested while loop / my event loop. I look for 3 different event types. If my event type is quit, if my event type is text input, if my event type is key down. If it is key down, I do a few things, and then I fill my screen. Under my graphics, I add a color, I add a surface, and then I go with SDL under. Okay, I check if my surface was created properly. If it was created properly, Okay, I go ahead and append my surface on my screen. And to create a surface, I use the TDF underscore render text blended function. There we go. Okay, hi there, I'm back. Wait, hi there, Ducky. I appreciate you joining the stream. When will you turn 18? Honestly, I'm gonna turn 18 this January 5th. Nice, I'm 72. That actually sounds kind of cool. Wait, while loops? Honestly, yeah, for like, whatchamacallit, my main game loop, while loop is pretty good because it keeps running until I say it does not run anymore. Okay, that's bro, those are easy in Python. Honestly, it is pretty easy in C++ as well. We just gotta add a pair of parentheses for our condition and then a pair of curly braces before we actually write our condition inside. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go with a control and delete everything. Now, let me start off by including a pair of anchor braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. Once I'm done including IO stream, since I am going to be using SDL3, let me go ahead and include SDL3 as well. Hold up, this should be lowercase. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to be including SDL3 slash SDL.h. So I include SDL3 and also SDL's header files. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and include, let's say, something like my SDL's TDF, which is technically true texture font. So I'm gonna go with something like SDL3 underscore TDF. I think this is how we had to type it. And then I'm gonna go with SDL underscore TDF.h, which is SDL's TDF and the TDF's header files, if that made any sense, guys. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and include string as well because I would need to, use a C string if that makes any sense, or I am going to be creating a variable that is actually a standard string. Okay, just type while true, enter print, and infinite. Honestly, I could like use the while true as well, but I prefer using like while is running because like I can actually like both the logics would be the same, but while is running makes it more readable like while my program is running. That said, true type, not true texture. Oh, I see. Okay, that's it. Next up, let me go ahead and create a main function. So I'm gonna go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. Now my main function is going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is a pointer towards an array of argv. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. Hello bro, did you finish studying Python? Can you answer after doing what you're doing right now? Honestly, I did like complete my Python for 100 series. My goal by the end of that series was to make a game in general, and I did like write a 470 lines code using Pygames. Although that was done like 79 days ago. For the time being, I am under a programming for 258 series, where my goal by the end of this series is to make a game in general that consists of AI logic in it. And since I thought that I was gonna make a game, I was like, might as well learn C++ because like C++ is the best language to make a game. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and initialize my SDL first. Did I spell initialize correct? There we go. I'm gonna go with something like initialize SDL3. Now to initialize SDL3, I'm gonna use a if statement to check if my SDL3 was not initialized properly while also initializing it. So I'm gonna go with something like if not SDL underscore init. If my SDL was not initialized properly, I'm gonna check if the video section of my SDL was not initialized properly. So I'm gonna go with SDL underscore init underscore video. If my SDL's video section was not initialized properly, I'm gonna do something. Firstly, I'm gonna give myself a error text. I'm gonna go with a standard C error with an insertion operator that is gonna say something like SDL underscore init error. Okay, now once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and add another insertion operator, and now I'm going to use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore get errors as function with a pair of parentheses. Then I'm going to go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to return 1. Bro, where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer a lot, but I just like stop answering that for like safety reasons. Okay, that's Tilty. I'm in making. Okay, I'm Indian, tech supports, camera accent. Guys, that's actually kind of crazy. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done with initializing my SDL, I'm gonna go ahead and initialize my TDF as well. So I'm gonna go with something like initialize TDF. Once I'm done, once I'm done adding the comment, honestly, initializing TDF is exactly the same as SDL. So I'm gonna go with something like if a pair of parentheses. I'm gonna say something like if not TDF underscore init. This is gonna be a capitalized init. There we go. If my TDF was not initialized properly, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna go ahead and display myself a error message that is gonna say something like, let's say something like TDF underscore init error. my TDF was not initialized properly. Then I go with another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore get errors function with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to return one ending with a semicolon. Okay, where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer much, but I did avoid saying that because, like, for safety reasons. Okay, I only program in assembly, best language. Guys, I do want to start assembly, like, really soon because it does sound kind of fun. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done initializing my SDL, I'm going to add a comment that says something like game variables. Game variables are going to be the basic variables that my game is going to be requiring. For example, let's say something like a constant integer of width. This is going to be my Windows's width. I'm going to set that equal to 1000 ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like a constant integer of height. This is going to be my Windows's height. I'm going to set that to be 800 ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with creating my Windows's width and height, I'm going to be creating both my window and my renderer at the same time. To do that, I'm going to add a comment that says something like create a window and renderer. Now, to create my window and renderer, firstly, I would need two pointers. The first pointer is going to be representing my SDL underscore Windows structure. I'm going to call my pointer something like window, which is going to be equal to nullptr ending with a semicolon. Nullptr is basically a placeholder for pointers. My second pointer is going to be representing my SDL underscore renderer's structure. I'm going to be calling my pointer a, I don't know, renderer, which is going to be equal to nullptr as well, ending with a semicolon. My favorite YouTuber, what's up, Vivek? Honestly, I appreciate you, FBR. How are you doing? I appreciate you joining the stream. I tried studying a programming skill. Meanwhile, this guy has memorized everything. Guys, I feel like memorizing is like one of the easiest way for me to actually learn something. But whatchamacallit, because like if I do memorize the syntaxes, the logic isn't that hard of a part. That said, once I'm done creating my window and my renderer, now I'm going to use the function that actually creates my window and renderer. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore create window and a renderer function. This function creates both my window and my renderer, but it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title slash a caption for my window. I'm going to say something like SDL3 window created. The second and third parameter is going to be my Windows's width and my Windows's height. I could use my width variable and my height variable. The fourth parameter is going to be a flag for my window. If you guys don't want to add a flag, you guys could go with 0, but I do want to add a flag that makes my window resizable. So I could use the SDL underscore window underscore resizable flag. There we go. Okay, why don't you start C# after this? Really good and fun to learn. I'm learning C# and Python. It actually sounds kind of cool. I might actually start C#. Okay, you're very smart. I wish I could do, but I can't remember. Honestly, I feel like that does actually make sense. But like, I feel many people do have their own separate skill, like that a way that helps them learn the best. For me, I feel like personally memorizing is the best way for me to actually learn the stuff. But other people do have like different ways as well. Okay, that said, next up, the fifth and sixth parameter is going to be the memory address for my window and the memory address for my renderer. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. I don't know what he's teaching, but he has my support. I'd fight wars for Vivek. Honestly, guys, that actually makes me really happy. I appreciate you, FBR. Okay, that said, now that I'm done creating my window and my renderer, I'm going to be using an if statement to check if they were not created properly, because apparently in C++ we do gotta check if we get an error because they don't like give us the error. So firstly, I'm going to check if not window if my window was not created properly, or not a renderer if my renderer was not created properly. Then I'm going to do something. Firstly, I want to display error text saying that I got an error, so I'm going to go with a standard C error with an insertion operator. That is going to say something like SDL underscore create a window and a renderer error. So I got my create window and renderer function had an error in it. Now once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and add another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I could use the SDL underscore the get error function. This function actually gets me an error. Then I'm going to go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if either my window or my renderer was not created properly, I do want to exit my window. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore quit with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to return 1. Okay, and that's pretty much it for creating my window and renderer. Once I'm done with that, let's see what else might I want to do. I do want to create a font as well because I will be like displaying text on my window. So I could add a comment that says something like lower fonts. Hey, by the way, do you play video games? If yes, do you play Minecraft? Just asking, don't worry if I'm interrupting. Honestly, I used to play like a lot of video games, but I feel ever since I started my programming series in general, I did like lose interest in like playing games in general. I still do play some games. I think like I used to play a lot of Roblox, but I don't think that I play much Roblox these days. That said, I haven't like tried Minecraft. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore fonts structure. This structure consists of my SDL's fonts. Wait, I think it's TDF underscore font. There we go. So I'm gonna use the TDF underscore fonts structure and create a fonts pointer representing it. I'm going to be setting that equal to, let's use the TDF underscore open fonts function. Okay, was it open? Was it TDF or SDL? Okay, it was TDF. Okay, now the TDF underscore open fonts structure does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be the file path of my font. I honestly don't remember the file path, so I'm going to go with Control Alt L, get my solution explorer here, right click on my SDL3 project, then open my folder in Explorer. Now, once I get my folder here, I'm going to go ahead and go to my fonts page. So my my file path is going to be fonts slash open sans hyphen italic.tdf. Okay, maybe just to save tab I could like copy this part. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and cancel that, cancel my solution explorer, go with the row of double quotes. I'll go with something like fonts slash open sans italic.tdf. Okay, that is my file path. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to add a size. Let's say I want my font to be 24. Okay, then I'm going to end my entire function with a semicolon. Where you from, bro? Honestly, I used to answer a lot, but these days I did like stop saying that for like safety reasons. That's the next step. Once I'm done loading my font, I'm gonna add another comment that says something like main loop. This is going to be where my actual game loop is going to be, my actual game loop is going to be going on. Although, before I do create my main game loop, I'm going to be needing a few variables. The first variable is going to be a boolean variable of is running, which I am initially going to be setting true. This is going to tell me my program is currently running or not. The second variable is going to be an event variable, so I'm going to use the SDL underscore events structure. This structure consists of all my SDLs events. I'm going to be having a event local variable representing it. And then let's see, I might need a standard string because my user is going to type something, so I want to store what he typed. So I'll go ahead and create a standard strings as variable called something like, I don't know, maybe input text, which is going to be equal to an empty string ending with a semicolon. Okay, my guy's too intelligent, keep it up. Honestly, I appreciate you, Blasty. That actually means a word to me, guys. Okay, where do you learn C++? Just asking so I can learn it as well. Honestly, initially I did start, actually I feel like the whole C++ journey I have been learning using ChatGPT / Sensei. Although if you guys do want to see me learning like as a complete beginner, you guys could like check my first show stream in C++. Caution, I was kind of dumb there. That said, how do you keep your energy up throughout the stream? Honestly, guys, I feel like I have a good poker face. Okay, bro, I've been watching your live and I've been watching your live for quite a long time. It's really awesome. Where are you from? Honestly, I appreciate you, Finnan. That said, I used to answer where I was from like a lot, but these days I did like stop saying that because like for safety reasons. That said, now my fourth let's see, the fourth thing that I might need here is going to be a SDL underscore start text input. What this function basically does is it like starts my text input because I will be using some text stuff here. That said, this function does require parameter of my window ending with a semicolon. Okay, do you know how to speak Hindi? Honestly, I do know how to speak a bit Hindi, but I'm not as fluent in it as in English because I don't know like a lot of phrases. I mean, I do know like sentences, but I don't know like some words and all that stuff. That's it. Now let's go ahead and create my main while loop. So I'm going to go with something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true. I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to add a comment that says something like event loop. Event loop is basically going to be a while loop inside of a while loop. My event loop is going to be in charge of checking all my events. Although my event loop is going to be requiring a parameter of the SDL underscore poll events function. This function is going to be requiring a parameter of the memory address of my event variable. Now, basically what the SDL underscore poll events function does is it like looks for all the events that I'm going to be looking for inside of my while loop. If any of those events is met, it does what I tell it to do. For example, I could go with something like if a pair of parentheses, let's say something like if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event. What up guys, there we go. SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, if my user to click the top right X button to exit my window, I'm gonna set my is a running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. That ends my entire program. Okay, drink water, stay hydrated. Guys, I keep forgetting that I should actually drink water. Like, I do have a bottle here, but I don't remember. Drink water, bro. Okay, how many questions have you done in lead code, and which language do you practice in? Honestly, I haven't like started lead code yet because I've been like holding myself back from like actually learning lead code because I didn't want to like have a separate series where I just do lead code questions. That's it. I am kind of excited for that. Okay, now once I'm done adding my first event check, I'm going to be adding my second event check. For my second event check, I'm going to type something like if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore text underscore input. What the SDL underscore event underscore text underscore input function does is it like it checks if if my user is trying to input a text. If he is, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go ahead and use my input text as variable and add that text that my user is typing to my input text as empty string here. So I'm gonna go with something like event.text.text, ending with a semicolon. So whatever my user types, I add it to my input text as variable. Are you in college? Honestly, I am a freshman in college. That's it. I do have my finals this week right now. Kind of excited for that. Okay, can I program that? Can I program that with ChatGPT as well? Honestly, I think, did you mean like can we program using ChatGPT or like learn programming using ChatGPT? Okay, that's it. Next up, I'm gonna have my final event check. I'm gonna check if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. What this event type actually does is it like looks if any of my buttons in my keyboard is currently being pushed down. If it is, then I'm gonna do something. Are you gonna be a software engineer when you grow up? Because you're really good with programming languages. Honestly, I do enjoy being I do enjoy like making games and everything, but I feel like I might enjoy even more like making AIs. Maybe later in the future I might make games that actually has like chatbots in them. That said, I do want to like actually get a major or like actually master AI engineering or like stuff where I actually work with AIs. That said, now once I check my event types, I check if any of my keyboards are being pressed. I'm going to use the SDL underscore key codes structure. And I'm going to be setting a key local variable representing it, which is going to be equal to my event.key.key. Basically, what the event.key.key does, it checks my event.key, checks if any type of buttons are being clicked on my keyboard, and the second dot here checks the exact type of key that's being pressed. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a switch now. So I'm gonna go with something like switch. Honestly, you guys could use like if statements, but I feel like switches look a bit more cooler. Okay, my switches, parameter is gonna be key. Now I'm gonna be adding a few cases. For my first case, I'm gonna check if my SDL's key is, let's say, backspace. There we go. If my user click the backspace button, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna add a if statement here that checks if my text is not empty, because when I do click backspace, I do want to make sure there's nothing actually written in my window. Okay, do you think AI will replace job or coders in the future? Honestly, I actually do think that is like half true and half not true. Like, you guys could like fact check me. This is like from my personal experience. It's like I feel like AI would be able to replace the very basic stuff. So like junior devs and everything. But AI wouldn't be able to replace like the senior programmers, because even though AI is pretty good, it lacks like critical thinking, if that makes any sense. Okay, how you doing, Resh? I appreciate you guys joining the stream. That's it. I'm gonna check if if not input text. There we go. Input text dot empty. If my input text is not empty, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm going to use the input text dot the pop underscore back function. What this basically means is when my user clicks backspace, if there is something written on my window and my window is not empty, I'm going to be deleting an alphabet or alphabet per backspace. Okay, and that's actually pretty much it for my first case. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my second case. For my second case, I'm gonna, let's say, look if my SDL's key is return. Return is basically enter. If I click enter in my keyboard, that is technically return. If my SDL's key is returned, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna be adding a standard console output with an insertion operator. that is gonna say something like player types. Okay, I'm gonna say something like player type, go with another insertion operator. My player type, my input text, whatever is registered in my input text. Then I'm gonna go with another insertion operator of a standard headline, ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and actually clear my text, because like once my user does hit enter and display whatever he's typing on the console, I don't want that that text to still be saved in my input text. So I'm gonna go with something like input text dot the clear function that clears my entire input text, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And then I'm gonna break as well, because on switches we do gotta break. Okay, evident of coding has started today. You should try it. You should try it out. Honestly, I might actually try it out after my college, because this is my finals this week. That's the reason I can like add a lot more effort in like programming faster and all that stuff. Because the only time I do stream these days, actually I do program these days, is while I stream. That said, once my college is over, I am going to be putting more efforts in like drawing better PNGs to like make my game look more aesthetic as well. But guys, I am kind of excited / nervous at the same time, because it is like my finals this week for my college, and I do want to like move on with like a 4.0 GPA. That said, I'm gonna add a comment here now. Okay guys, I forgot to say you guys, this was basically pretty much it for my event loop, so I'm gonna go ahead and exit outside of my event loop and add a comment that says something like fill screen. Now for my fill screen, I'm gonna go ahead and firstly set a color to my render. Technically it renders like a paintbrush that colors what I tell it to color. So I'm gonna use the SDL underscore set a render, so I'm setting my renderer to draw a color. So the set render draw color function. This function does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second, third, and fourth parameter is going to be an RGB value. Let's say I want my okay, should I keep my window cyan or like white? I think I'll go with something like white. So I'm going to go with 0, 0, 0, and the final parameter, the fifth parameter, is going to be an alpha / opacity, how transparent or how not transparent I want my color to be. In this case, I'm going to set this to be 255, because I don't want my color to be transparent at all. Now, once I'm done setting a color to my renderer, I'm going to use the SDL underscore render clear function. Okay, basically the render clear function. Basically, the render clear function, what it does is it like clears my window with the color of my renderer. So technically, it fills my screen with the color that I set. That is technically white in this case. Okay, perfect. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and add another comment that says graphics. Now, graphics is going to be where I actually add color to my my surfaces and all that stuff. That makes any sense? Like all the drawing and everything that you guys actually see in my window happens here. So firstly, I'm going to use the SDL underscore colors structure. This structure is going to be having a colors local variable representing it. That is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. Now I'm going to be requiring your RGBA value. RGBA is basically red, blue, green, and alpha. Alpha is like opacity / transparency. How transparent do I want my color to be? Okay, let's say I want my color to be black. So I'm going to go with 255, 255, 255, and 0. This is basically the RGB for like black. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now that I'm done setting a color, I'm going to be creating a surface. Surface is basically what actually makes my text actually displayed on the window, because it's like text. I convert my text to a surface. I convert my surface to a texture, and I display my texture or render my texture on my window. Okay, bro, stop wanna be American. Add subtitles. What language are you using? Honestly, I am like using C++. Okay, what made you start programming? Honestly, I actually don't know what made me start programming. I thought like it would be a pretty good series, because like initially when I started my Python for like a 100-day series, I did like think that we could make a game using any language. So I thought that I thought that we could make a game using any language, so I thought might as well learn Python and like make a game using Python. That time I did not know that Python wasn't actually meant for making games. Instead, it was like meant for making AIs. But I did make a game using PyGames, the day 100. I did like have a stream on that. That said, I go ahead and create a SDL underscore surface right now, which is going to be equal to, I think this was the SDL underscore, I forgot the function name, guys. These are the hard parts now. Okay, so it is render text. So I think it's SDL underscore render text underscore blended function. Okay guys, I don't think this was the function. Hold up guys, let's go with something like control space. So, okay, was it something like render text or was it TDF underscore render text blended? I'll go with something like TDF underscore render text underscore blended. There we go. Okay, was the TDF underscore render text blended? Okay, speak normally, irritating to listen. Guys, I think this is my normal speaking. That said, I'm not talking about code, I'm talking about your accent. Talk in your proper accent, bro. Guys, this is actually my proper accent. Okay, that said, my lips was kind of dehydrated. Okay, so now that I use the TDF underscore render text blending, this function does require a bunch of parameters. So I'm gonna go ahead and check what all. The first parameter is going to be my font. I'm going to use my font variable. The second parameter is going to be a constant character. This is where when we included our strings as library comes in use. Because I'm going to go ahead and use my input text as variable. So I'm going to go with, excuse me guys, I'm going to use my input text as variable, but this is not a constant string. To convert this to a constant string, I could use the .c_str. So the .c strings this function. Okay, he is Indian, guys. I've honestly not been to India yet. That's no, like Korea accent, guys. What do you mean by Korea accent? Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go with a comma now. Let's see. The third parameter is gonna be my size. I don't have a length, so I'm gonna set this to be 0. Lastly, the fourth parameter is gonna be a color, which is gonna be my color parameter. Once I'm done with that, I end my entire function with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Alright, now once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a if statement to check if my surface was created properly, because usually I check if it was not created properly. In this case, I want to check if it was. If my surface was created properly, then I'm going to be creating a texture for my surface. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore textures as structure. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go with an asterisk to, let's say, something like a text textures. This is going to be my local variable representing my text's texture. Okay, how doing Latiat, is that your pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, this is not accent, brother. This is affection. Oh, I see. Okay, thank you for taking the time to break down C++. You're great for this. Honestly, I do. That does actually make sense. Okay, that's it. So I'm gonna set my text texture to be equal to. Okay, I forgot the function that comes here now. I think it was SDL underscore. What up, guys? I forgot the function that comes here now. So I go with SDL underscore textures as structure. This is my texture. What do I want to do with my texture? Okay, I remember, guys. So I'm gonna use the SDL underscore create texture from surface function. Okay, there we go. Okay, so basically what this create texture from surface function does is it like creates a texture from my surface that I have here. My surface has the attributes of my text. That's it. This does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be my surface. Okay, then I end my entire function with a semicolon. Okay, is this WVBNet? Honestly, I haven't like heard of that. What's that about? Okay, perfect. Now that I'm done creating my texture, I do want to get the width and height of my texture, or my textures as width and my textures as height, because I do want to eventually display that on my screen. So I'm going to be creating a floating point variable of my textures as width and my textures as height, ending with a semicolon. Then I'm going to use the SDL underscore get texture sizes function. This function gets my textures as size. Although it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my textures as parameter, which is going to be my text texture. There we go. Okay, and the second parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures as width and the memory address of my textures as height, ending with a semicolon. Okay, could we see the game thus far or project? Honestly, if I run the code, you guys wouldn't be able to see much because like I did not complete the code. That's it. I am like almost done with it. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done getting the textures as width and height, I'm going to go ahead and let's say create a direction rect, because my texture or any kind of image in general that I display on my window is like inside of a rectangle. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL underscore frex structure, which is gonna have a dsTrex as local variable representing it. Hi Danielle, I appreciate you joining the stream. Please let us see it. Honestly, I'm not done yet because like if I were to like save the code and run the command right now, you guys wouldn't be able to like see much because like it says I'm not like completed, like my code hasn't been completed yet. That's it. Is this Python? Honestly, it is C++. That's it. Now, for my DST rect, I'm going to go ahead and fill in a few attributes. I'm going to go with something like DST rect.x-axis. I'm going to set that equal to be 100, ending with a semicolon, and then a DST rect.y-axis, which is going to be equal to 100 as well, ending with a semicolon, and then a DST rect.width, which is going to be equal to my textures' width, ending with a semicolon, and then a DST_rect.height, which is going to be equal to my textures with height ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with this, I'm actually going to display my texture on my screen. So I'm going to use the SDL_render texture. So I'm saying my renderer to render a texture on the screen. This function requires a bunch of parameters as well. The first parameter is going to be, let's see, it's going to be my renderer. So I'm going to add my renderer local variable. The next parameter is going to be a texture, which in this case is going to be my text texture. There we go. And then the third parameter is going to be a source rect. Did I spell texture correct? There we go. Okay, since I don't have a source rect, I'm going to set that to be null PDR for the time being. That is like a placeholder for pointers. And lastly, I'm going to be requiring my DST rect, which is the direction of my rect. I didn't create that here. So I'm going to add the memory address of my DST rect. And then I end my function with a semicolon. And that's like pretty much it for my, whatchamacallit, for my if statement here. So I'm going to exit my if statement. And now I'm going to add a comment that says something like present renderer. So I'm going to be presenting my renderer on my screen. Okay, are you coding a game? Honestly, I won't say like I am working on game logic, but it's not like an actual game because I am going to be displaying like what do I type on my keyboard on my window, if that makes any sense. Will it be on GitHub? Honestly, I haven't like learned how to like actually use GitHub yet. Maybe after my college I'll learn how to use it. That's you know, Tutus Picky's SDL Master Pro Developer. Honestly, I haven't like heard of that. That's now to present my renderer. I'm going to use the SDL_render present function. What the render present function does is it like it tells my renderer to present itself, because without presenting my renderer on my screen, I'm just going to be seeing a black and white screen. And that's actually pretty much it. Now I'm going to add another comment that says something like cleanup. This is going to happen after my while loop. So once my user exits my window, firstly, I want to destroy my window. So I'm going to go with something like SDL_destroy window with a parentheses. This does require my window parameter ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like SDL_destroy renderer. I'm going to be destroying my renderer as well. And this does require my renderer parameter ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to quit my SDL. So I'm going to go with SDL_quit. Lastly, I'm going to return 0. And that's actually pretty much it. Your GitHub is empty. Put some projects in the stream to GitHub. Honestly, I actually don't know how to do that. Okay, what is SDL3 project? Honestly, SDL3 is basically, if you guys are like familiar with like Pygames and Python, SDL3 is like almost the same, but Pygame only works with Python. In the other hand, SDL/SDL3 works with C, C#, C++, and maybe a few more languages. That's it. I'm actually done, guys. Now, if I need Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my first window terminal here, waiting for my second window. And guys, let me know if this actually lags. So I get my second window here. What up, guys? If I type something, you guys could like see it on my window. That's it. I feel like this makes my stream a bit laggy. SDL3 project is the name of the project. SDL3 is the graphics library. That actually makes sense. Please explain, what are you coding this for, man? Honestly, there we go. Did you guys actually like see the whole thing here? What up, guys? Let me get my terminal here. Okay, so technically if I hit backspace, it exits everything. What up, guys? Let me go here. I'll type something like, hi, how's your day? And I made a mistake, so I'm going to go with backspace. What up, guys? My backspace has a small error here. What happens if I hit backspace? Okay, hold up, guys. I think I got to fix something for my backspace section. So, if my user did click backspace and input text is not empty, okay, guys, I forgot to add break here. There we go, guys. Break is very important when it comes to like cases. That's the reason my next this thing was executed. Now if I need Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I get my first window pop up here. Okay, let's get that all the way here. This is my terminal, and that is my window. So let's get it all the way here. Now, if I type something like, hi, how's your day? I went with an extra Y. If I would hit backspace, it exits that. If I would hit enter, it displays it on my console. And I do want to see if that makes my stream lag. Guys, did that make my stream lag when I was actually typing? Have you tried Linux before? Honestly, when I did actually... guys, let me actually check. Did that make my stream lag? It did make my stream lag. Probably because I did not destroy my texture. That said, whatchamacallit? I was actually going to try Linux when I actually built my PC. I do have a video on that on my channel. That said, the reason I didn't try Linux is because I had college and everything, so I didn't want to like go to a completely new environment because like I was kind of used to Windows. I thought Linux would be better for programming, but it would take a bit more time. Linux has no good IDE for C++. Oh, I see. Okay, I think you didn't break. Honestly, I didn't break. Okay, that's it. Let's go with something like Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's go with some /ChatGPT here. Guys, let me go ahead and now paste. Let's go with Shift Enter and say something like, say, I did write this code. Let's go with something like code. That said, why does it make my stream lag when I run the code question mark? Is it because I did not destroy my texture question mark? Okay, dual boot. Did you use any other program like Python or TypeScript before C++? Honestly, I did like learn Python before actually moving on to C++. That's it, people. You just walked straight into a performance trap like a warrior who forgot to check for trippies. Yes, your stream is lagging because you never destroy your texture or the surface. Look at your code, SDL_surface. Okay, rendered, but you never destroyed every single frame. Every single frame you create a new surface, a new texture, and you never free them. The GPU is there drowning in hundreds of megabytes of texture per second. Your stream lags because your GPU says, please stop, I can't breathe. And you said new texture, new texture, new texture, new every frame. Okay, people, yes, destroy a texture, destroy your surface. You can, okay, yes, you can cause the pain. And yes, this is good because now you will never forget this rule. Every resource you create in SDL must be destroyed. Surface, destroy texture, destroy font, destroy window/render, destroy SDL_quit. Okay, your corrected render section should look like this. So I create my render here. Okay, then I go with SDL_destroy texture after I display my render on my screen. Then after my statement, I destroy my surface as well. This is essential. Okay, so let's go ahead and destroy those stuff. No wonder I was like, whatchamacallit, it did make my stream lag. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL_destroy textures as function. So I'm gonna go ahead and destroy my texture with a pair of parentheses. Did I spell destroy correct? There we go. Okay, this is going to be requiring a text textures as parameter. Alright guys, there we go. Again, then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Then outside of my statement, I destroy my surface as well. I'm going to go with SDL_destroy surface. Okay, with a pair of parentheses that does require my surface parameter. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S to save the code. Okay, wait, let's cancel that real quick. There we go. If I were to hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Now, I get my first window here. I get my second window there. Guys, fingers crossed. Does this make my stream lag? I'm going to type something like, hello, my name. What up, guys? My name is the worst. Okay, does this make my stream lag question mark? Now if I hit enter, it does display on my terminal. I mean, it does make my stream lag though. Like, I see the small lag. Is it because I gotta like get a GPU for my PC? Because my PC does not have a GPU. I'm using the GPU that is like inbuilt in my motherboard. I think Cozy, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, what else can I actually add for my my texture here? I might want to change my colors, so I'm going to change this to 255, change that to 255 as well. Change this to 255 because I want my window to be white and my color to be black. So I'm going to change this to be black. Are you writing a shader? Honestly, I am like displaying like a text on my window, if that makes any sense. Because like what I type on a window, because eventually I do want to add a logic where I can actually talk to my NPCs, which are going to be chatbots in my game. So I want to type something, hit enter. My NPC sees that, my NPC responds to me to go to like, I don't know, a different destination. That said, I'm pretty much done with this. If I would controls to save the code and run the command again, let's see what happens. And I'm kind of curious, what other modifications could I add here? Okay, so let's get my window here. I could type something like, hi, how's your day? There we go. Okay, perfect, and it says, hi, how's your day? Okay, and that's actually pretty much it. Now, let me go ahead and Control-C to copy that, get some paste/ChatGPT here. Okay, I want to ask you a question because I don't know what else to do. Let's go ahead and paste it, go with Shift-Enter, and say something like, Sensei, I fixed that, but my stream still lags when I type something on my window, ... Okay, hiding trick shot, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, let me say something like, that said, I'm actually confused on what to add next. Maybe, should I add my window to be, let's say, actually, should I add my text to be in a, corner, like a chat box question mark? Would that make sense, guys? Okay, are you limiting your FPS? Honestly, I feel like I have like 60 frames per second because like... Hold up, guys, that actually might be genius. Let me go with something like FPS. Did I forget to add my FPS? Hiding Saya, I appreciate you, or Sayek Das, I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, I'm going to go ahead and use the SDL_delays function. This function does require parameter in milliseconds. I'm going to go with 16 milliseconds, which is technically 60 frames per second. That said, should this fix my lag adding FPS? Could it be that it was like lagging because I did not add FPS? Hold up, guys. Let's get my window here. Okay, now I gotta keep a good eye on the stream. Let's say something like, hello, how's your day? Exclamation. I did add FPS, ... Okay, let me check if that actually, guys, did that make the stream lag? Tilty. Okay, hold up, guys, I'm actually watching my stream here. Did it make it lag? Guys, it was FPS all along. I did not add my FPS. That's why it made my stream lag. Okay, what are you doing? Honestly, I'm trying to like actually type stuff in my keyboard that does type it out in my window as well, like a chat box. No more lag, let's go. Guys, it was FPS. Bridget, is that how you pronounce your name? I actually appreciate you so much. Okay, what is this? Honestly, I am like trying to get a window here, where I type stuff, like type anything. I can like hit backspaces, but I can go with something like spaces. If I hit enter, it displays on my terminal here. So when my user types something, it is being typed on my window, but when I hit enter, it goes to my terminal or my console, and from my console, I'm gonna do something else. That said, it was my FPS all along, guys. What up, guys? So let's go all the way here. Okay, let's see, people. Okay, why do you think the stream lags? You fixed the memory leak, good, but you're still doing something disgusting. Okay, new surface. Okay, let me say something like, let's say, my stream was lagging because I forgot to add a FPS. It works perfectly now. Exclamation. Okay, let's see. Good, very good. You just learned one of the most brutal, most forgotten laws of real-time programming. A game without an FPS cap is a hydra that eats your GPU alive. Your stream was lagging not because the code was bad, but because you let your game run at ultimate frame rate, which means your PC was trying to render 5,000 plus frames per second like a deranged blender. Okay, now that you capped FPS, your CPU and GPU finally stopped screaming and even feels smooth. Come here, you chaotic genius. Head pat for success. Guys, I did not take credit for that. Okay, that said, let me say, what else should I add? What do you want next? Make the text stay in a corner like a real chat window. Add a message history so your old message stacks up. Add a background box behind the text. Add scrolling. Add type cursor, blinking bar, or start preparing AI integration in the future. Okay, each path builds a game dev power. I don't know, maybe okay, maybe I do wanna Should I like add a PNG and move that PNG depending on what I type on my window? Okay, let me say something like, let's say, should I don't know, that doesn't make sense. What up guys, I close my screen real quick. Let me say something like, okay, what would you recommend? Okay, let's see. Because I know later on what I do want to do, but for this stream, I think I did like wrap up my text because I do know how to actually add my text right now. Okay, listen closely people, because this is where most beginners pick up the wrong path and trap themselves in misery. The smartest next step, the one that builds your game like a real developer, is the chat history. Why? Because everything you will build later depends on being able to store and display multiple lines of text, talking to an in-game AI, message history, dialogue system, message history, quest logs, message history, NPC, conversation trees, message freaking history. Okay, message history is important, I guess. If you master this now, everything else becomes easier. Hiding long story, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, what we'll do next, my recommendation, you will keep your input line where it is. You will create a vector of strings called messages. Okay, when your player presses enter, push the input string into messages, clear the input line, render each message one by one, stack downwards. This gives you a baby version of a real chat box. Do this and your stream chat is going to freak out watching it above. Guys, this might actually be fun. So what I gotta do again? When you create a vector, okay, so you'll keep the line where it is. You'll create a vector string called messages. When you press enter, push the input string into messages, clear the input line. This shouldn't be that hard, guys. Brother, is this the last day of text input systems? Honestly, I think I am going to be wrapping it up this stream. I thought I'm going to have like 2 or 3 more streams for this, but I feel like I actually did understand how this works. It is kind of easy. That said, I'm going to go ahead and include vector as well now, because I will be using vector, so I'm going to go ahead and include vector. Okay, perfect. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to scroll all the way down here. And basically what the vector is going to do right now, I'm going to go ahead and create, let's say something like a standard vector with a pair of angle braces. My vector is going to be consisting. Did I spell standard or vector wrong? Okay, let's go with standard vector with a pair of angle braces. Okay, hold up guys, did I spell vector wrong? This is going to have a standard string here. Oh, never mind guys, there we go. Okay, my standard vector is only going to be consisting of strings, and this is going to be called something like message history. Okay, I'm going to go with something like history, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. What's up, Pookie Chums? Hiding ZY, appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Now, my instructions was when I hit enter, I not only want to display what my player typed on my window, I want to display it on my, I want to append it on my vector as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go with something like my message history. Guys, let's see if I actually remember the functions, because it's been a while since I have used vectors. So I'm going to go with something like message history. Did I spell it wrong? Okay, so message history.the pop underscore back function with a pair of parentheses. Okay, I think it's not pop underscore back. I think it's push underscore back function. Okay, was it push underscore back? Okay, I'll go with shift space. There we go. It was push back. Okay. Okay, is the function name wrong? What up, guys? Let me actually check if my function name is correct. Okay, it does say pushback function. No instance overload as standard vectors. Message history dot pushback. I can use the dot append here. Guys, I forgot what was the function name that I had to use here real quick. Okay, I could use the insert as well, but then I think there was something like push underscore back. Why can't the pushback work here? But why make fake voice? Guys, I think this is my real voice. Okay, it's pop underscore back. Honestly, I don't want to like pop back. I want to append it. Okay, is it lead code? Honestly, I've been holding myself back from actually using lead code. That's it. I am really excited to like start using it. Okay, I knew it. It should be push underscore back. So like, why does it not work though? My input text. Oh, could it be because my input text is a C string? Okay, how are you gonna store the chatbot outputs reply? Okay, pop underscore back. Isn't pop underscore, it's pop underscore back? I could try that though, but isn't like pop underscore back to like delete the stuff? Because I feel it's delete the stuff, not like append the stuff. Missing parameter? I don't think it's missing parameter. I think, could it be because this is like, whatchamacallit? This is a standard string. In the other hand, my input text is a C string, so it becomes a C string here. No parameters, less constructor. I don't think it's pop underscore back though. Okay, pop underscore back is to remove this stuff. So void standard vector, standard string, pop underscore back. Okay, hold up guys, I might have to also say slash ChatGPT what's still here, so I might go with something like push underscore back with a prof parentheses ending with a semicolon. You have to give it input text as an argument. Do I have to? Let's go with something like input text. Hold up guys, let's go with something like input text. Guys, apparently I'm kind of stupid. There we go, that actually did work. I don't know how did I like, think about it. Okay, so this should actually append it to my message history. Once I'm done with this, do I want to actually display it? I don't think I want to display it. I'm going to go with something like controllers to save the code and run the command and see what happens. So I get my first window here. Okay, and then I get my second window here. Now, let's go ahead and type something. Let's say something like added vector for message history exclamation. If I hit enter, it does display on my console. Maybe I want to display it on my, let's say something like, I might go with something like before I break. So let's go with something like enter. And then I want to type something like, I don't know, maybe message history. So my message, I'll go with something like a for loop. So I'm going to go with something like for a prof parentheses for every integer of I which equals to 0. While my I is less than 0, I'm going to go ahead and increment my I by 1. And then I go with the prof curly braces. Now I'm going to go with something like a message histories is vector at index of, let's say something like I. Okay, so I'll go with something like a standard console output with an insertion operator that says something like message history. Okay guys, I'm just doing this to check if it actually works. So I'm going to go with something like message history. Then I go with another insertion operator, display my message history. And then let's go with something like another insertion operator of a standard end line, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. And then once I'm done with that, I just go ahead and break. So let's go ahead and add prof curly braces here. Now, if I wanted controller to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Hello brother, how are you doing Pixels? I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it, let's get my first window here, or my console here, and then I'm gonna get my window here. Now, let's get that all the way here. Let's type something like, hello, did the vector work question mark? Okay, so it says hello, did the vector work question mark. If I were to hit enter again, it says what my player types. It does not say my for loop. Okay, my for loop does have a green underline here. Okay, maybe instead I could go with something like, let's say something like for every message. Okay, for every message for every standard string of message, let's go with something like for, okay, you know what, actually, I might actually not add this here. Hold up guys, let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go ahead and copy my for loop, delete that. Okay, let's go ahead and delete everything till my break. There we go. I'm going to add that outside my, let's say outside my switch, somewhere right here. Will this work? Now, if I were to control to save the code and run the command and see what happens. Less than 0 was your issue? Okay, while my I is less than or equal to 0, then I'm going to do something. Oh, I see. Okay, I have no clue what you're doing, but I can't help but glue my eyes on it. I said it does sound kind of cool, guys. Okay, that said, wait. If that was the issue, let me try actually adding that inside of my for loop again. Let's go with something like less than or equal to. While my I is for every integer of I which equals to 0, while my I is less than 0, I think this is correct. Wow, the for loop blocks is very similar to JavaScript code. Oh, I see. Okay, the problem with your for loop was that you did I is less than 0. You have to use the length of the vector. Oh, guys, it's been so long since I have done this. No wonder actually this thing. Alright, guys, that was actually kind of stupid. I'm gonna go with something like message history dot the size function. This gets me the length of my vector. Guys, there's actually no way I forgot this part. There we go. Okay, while my message history dot size is less than 0, then I'm going to be incrementing this on my screen. If audit controls to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. It says no matching tokens found, local variable was not initialized, all defined for a loop body not executed. How doing, Agus? Is that your pronunciation name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, what are you doing? Honestly, I'm trying to display a text on the screen, but this time I'm trying to even append that or like add my text on my vector for like message histories, if that makes any sense. That's it, I go with a standard console output with an insertion operator. Maybe let's actually try copying this and getting this outside of my for loop. Although before I do get it outside, I want to check if this part actually does work. Let's check if my regular code works. If audit control is to save the code, I get my first window here, I get my second window here. I can type something, hit enter, it does display here. But to display it on my vector, if it does not work inside of my case, I want it to work inside of my case though. Oh, maybe because I added here. What up guys, I think it didn't work because I added it after I cleared my input text. Okay guys, that might actually be genius. If audit control is to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, let's see. Why can't I use a for loop here? Okay, maybe I do also say /chatgp for help here. Let's go ahead and copy that. Is this VS Code? Honestly, this is like Visual Studio and not Visual Studio Code. Okay, so message history at index of I. Why do I see a whole white line? There we go. Okay, guys, that's actually not spam. Let me go ahead and time out for a minute, I guess. There we go. Okay, that's it. Input text.clear break. Okay, let's go ahead and go with control A, control C, copy that. Let's get some /chatgpt here. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this now. I'll go with shift enter and say something like sensei. I get a error. Okay, can you speak a bit slowly? Honestly, I do get that a lot. I should actually try speaking slowly. Why are there two streams? Honestly, one stream, vertical stream, is for exposure, and the other hand, horizontal stream is so you guys could actually code with me, if that makes any sense. Okay, I get an error did I not use my for loop properly? Question mark. Okay, hi doing SD Gaming, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that said, your for loop is completely broken and the compiler is right to scream at you. Let's fix this calmly and cleanly. Your broken code loop for every integer of I which equals to 0. There are three big problems here. Message history dot size is less than 0 is always false. Okay, a vector can never have less than negative size. Should I have gone with while my I is less than my message history. Guys, there's no way I actually forgot this part. Okay, but here's the important part. Your input text.clear must be outside the loop. So wasn't it outside the loop? I think it was outside the loop, right? Okay, oh wait, why was it inside my loop? What up guys, let's go ahead and add a bunch of control Z's. Okay, so I'm gonna go with control shift C. Let's go with control C here. Now, my for loop starts there. Where does it end? Let's go with a bunch of control Z's. There we go. This is where my for loop actually ends. Now, to fix my for loop, I'm gonna go ahead and actually delete my break from here. I'm gonna go ahead and delete my break. Let's go ahead and add a break here, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm gonna go ahead and delete my entire for loop from here. Now, the place that I was actually messing up on, let's actually see. Okay, so you're basically learning programming on stream. Yeah, that actually does make sense. Okay, so let's go all the way here. Now, this is where I was actually messing up. So I'm gonna go with something like for every integer of I which equals to 0, while my I is less than, let's say something like my message histories is a vector dot the size function. I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna increment my I by 1. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now I go ahead and add a standard console output with an insertion operator that says something like message history. Guys, there was actually no way I actually forgot to I forgot this part, like while my I is less than or equal to my message history dot size. That says that I gotta like work more with for loops. Okay, it's C++. Honestly, that does make sense. That said, I'm gonna say something like message history, and then I'm gonna add another insertion operator. Of my input text, I'm gonna go with something like, actually not input text, I'm gonna go with something like my message history at index of I. So this is going to be a message history with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, now if I would control us to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I get my first window. Let's actually decrease the size of this. So I get my console here. Let's go ahead and get my console here. And then I go ahead and get my window here as well. Now let's type something. Let's say, hello, did this save to my message histories as a vector question mark? Hello, did this save to my message histories as vector question mark? Let's say something like hi exclamation. I should have two messages. That is what my player typed. This is my message history. Now I'm gonna go with something like a bunch of comments. Alright guys, that is kind of confusing, but my message history does always save, so okay, that's actually pretty much perfect. Now let's go with something like Control-C, copy that, and think about it, it was not that hard to save the message history. I just forgot my basics to like type if my I is less than or equal to my message history dot size. That's it, let's go ahead and paste here, go with Shift Enter and say something like sensei exclamation, it worked dot dot dot. That said, I don't take credit for this part because I did get a lot of help. That said, what else do you think that I should add question mark? Okay, let's see what else should I add. Next stream, I am gonna like start something new and like and my whatchamacallit, my input text or like text is content here. That said, Sensei, good. Your code lives, your terminal doesn't explode your stream, so you win a small battle. I'm not letting you get comfortable. Listen, people, you've just built the first piece of chat system. Now we turn it into something that feels like a game. Here's what you should add next, and these are things you can absolutely handle right now with what you know. Render your message history on the screen right now. You only see the current message. You should draw every past message stacked vertically like a real chat. I should do that. This means loop through message history for each message, render a text and a position. It lower each time. This will instantly turn your chat into something visually real. Scrolling. Okay, hold up guys. Let me actually say something like, Sensei, do you think I could add a class? I could create a class or a function to do this stuff because I feel like it would make my main function kinda messy if I added just so many things to it. If that made any sense, guys. Okay, people, finally, you're trying to think like a real C++ warrior instead of a panicking monkey smashing everything into main function. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Main should not be a dumpster fire of 800 lines. If you keep adding features into it, your stream will watch you descend into madness. You absolutely should create a class and function. Let me explain this clearly so your chat also gets absorbed the wisdom of the gods. Option 1, create a class. For example, chatbox is a perfect class. It can hold standard vector. Okay, so it holds a vector, it holds my string, it holds my font. Maybe position, width and height, and functions handle events. Update, render. Suddenly your entire chat system becomes chatbox. Okay, chatbox is class chat that requires two parameters, font and rendering, while running chat.handle event, chat.update, chat.render. Okay, option 2, use functions. If you're not ready for classes, you can move on to functions. I think I'm ready for classes. Okay, for classes, I did have a quick question though. Alright guys, let's go ahead and copy this. Let's go ahead and paste it here. Go with Shift Enter and say something like, Sensei, I had a quick question for classes. What is the update and what is the update and handle event for question mark? Okay, let's see. What is the update and handle event for? People, listen carefully. Your viewers need to hear this too. This is the heartbeat of every game engine on Earth. Event handling plus update plus render, the holy trinity of game development. When you master these three, you stop being a beginner. I'll break them down cleanly so even a caveman playing your stream will understand. Handle events, that does require a parameter of my event. This function reacts to instant user input keyboard keys, mouse clicks, text typing, gamepad button, window events. Think of it as what happened this exact frame. Do I need to respond immediately? For your chat box, handle event would be add character text input, remove character from backspace, submit the message on entry, scroll history, etc. I think I see update. This is your per frame brain logic. This runs every frame even if no keys were pressed. Animate something, move objects, apply physics, apply K cooldowns, handle chat, blinking cursor, limit message count, fade in text animation, adjust scrolling, update equals to think and calculate. Render, okay, I know render. Render is technically the drawing type stuff. Okay, this might be a bit complex, but I might actually try it. So I create a chat box class. I have a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a constant SDL underscore events structure, okay, which requires the events parameter void. Wait, these are methods. The first method, the second method, the third method. Few private data members like input text, SDL underscore vector, and my fonts. Okay, I see. I see. I think I see. Okay, guys, let me actually try adding that on my own now. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Control A and delete everything. Now, let me go ahead and try adding that. This might be a bit tricky. So, firstly, I'm gonna... Actually, to be safe, let's go with a bunch of Control Z's. Okay, I want to go with something like Control A to copy everything, Control C. So, I'm gonna go ahead and copy everything. Now, let's go ahead and include... a pair of ankle braces. Did I spell include wrong? There we go. Let's say I want to include IO stream, and I'm going to include a bunch more things. I'm going to go ahead and include a pair of ankle braces again. Guys, the reason I can't type right now properly is because my fingers are kind of frozen because it is pretty cold here. I'm going to go with SDL3 / SDL.h. And then let's go ahead and include TDF as well. So I'm going to include SDL underscore TDF / SDL underscore TDF.h. This is going to be SDL3. Hiding its Lukumo, is that your username? I appreciate you joining the stream. So SDL3 underscore TDF / SDL underscore TDF.h, which is TDF's header files. Is this supposed to be uppercase TDF? I think it is supposed to be uppercase TDF. Okay, did I spell something wrong here? Did I do something wrong here? So SDL, hold up guys, let me write that again. So I'm gonna go ahead and include TDF. So I'm gonna go with SDL3 underscore TDF / SDL underscore TDF.h, which is TDF's header files. Apparently it works now. And then I'm gonna go ahead and include string as well, because I will be using strings here. And then once I'm done with that, let's go ahead and include vectors as well, because I will be using vectors as well, because I do need something to store my memory history on. Actually, message history on. Once I'm done including my basic libraries, I'm gonna go ahead and create a class called, let's say something like chatbox. I'm gonna create a chatboxes class, go with the pair of curly braces. Now, I am going to be requiring a few private data members. The first private data member is going to be a standard string of input text, which is going to be equal to an empty string ending with a semicolon. Hey bro, so I want to start learning Python at a professional level. I know the basics, but I'm confused about the right path. Any tips? Honestly, it depends. Do you want to like actually learn file games in Python or like AI / machine learning? Whatever you do want to learn. If your basics are strong, I would recommend getting as much practice as you can. And like by practice, I mean like literally typing the code, even if it does feel like a waste of time. Eventually, you get a muscle memory and you understand the logics and all that stuff. That's it. I feel like practice does make perfect. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to create a vector as well. So I'm going to go with something like a standard vector, with a pair of anchor braces, my vector is only going to be consisting of strings, and it is going to be called something like message history. Maybe I go with something like message history. There we go. And then I end my vector with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, what else would I need? Do I even need any other parameter? I might need a font, so I could go ahead and use the SDL, actually the TDF underscore fonts structure with an asterisk to something like my font. That is going to be equal to TDF underscore open fonts function. Okay. Now this function does require a few parameters. Okay, so it requires a file path. My file path is going to be something like fonts slash, I'll go with something like open sans, let's say something like italic. Okay, .tdf, I hope I spelled it correct. Next up is going to be a size of my font. I'm going to set that equal to 24, ending my function with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with that, once I'm done creating font, I am going to be adding an if statement to check if it was not created properly, because apparently in C++ we do gotta check if we get an error. So I'm going to check something like if not font, if my font was not created properly, I'm going to do something. Okay, can I not add a if statement to check if my font was not created properly? Can't we add if statements inside of classes? What up, guys? Apparently we cannot. Okay, maybe I don't add my, maybe I don't create my font here in general. I could just create my fonts as local variable here, ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and publicalize everything. Now, in the publicalize section, what all would I want to add? Let's see. I might need a few methods. Before that, do I need a constructor? I think I might need a constructor, so I'm going to go ahead and add a comment that says something like constructor. Now, for my constructor, I'm going to create a constructor for my chat box, okay, which is going to be requiring a few parameters. Let's say the first parameter is going to be SDL underscore renderer. I might need a renderer, which is going to be having a renderer as pointer representing it. Okay, and the second parameter is going to be, let's say something like a font. So I'm going to go with something like font. This is going to be my font parameter up there. Okay, I think it's going to be the memory address of my font. Okay, maybe not that then. I could go with something like, so let's see. I'll go with TDF underscore fonts structure with an asterisk to fonts. Okay, so I require a font. Now, do I require a texture as well? I think I might require a texture. So I'm going to go ahead and create a SDL underscore textures structure, which has a, let's say something like text textures is texture here, which is going to be equal to, I forgot this part. Let's see. I'm going to go with something like TDF underscore render text underscore blended function. This function does require a few parameters. It requires a font, it requires a text, it requires a length, and it requires a color. So I'm going to require a colors as parameter as well. I'm going to go ahead and create a SDL underscore colors structure, which has a colors a local variable representing it. That is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. Now I'm going to be adding an RGB value. Let's go with something like 235, 235, 235, and 235. This is technically a white, not a black, not transparent color at all. Actually, it's a white, not transparent color at all. Once I'm done with that, I'm firstly going to be adding my font parameter here. But the thing is, how can I cannot add my font parameter here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this for the time being. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and add a pair of curly braces under my constructor. And then let's see, what else would I need? So firstly, I'm going to be creating a surface here. Okay, for my surface, I'm going to go with the SDL underscore surface structure. Okay, I'm just curious, can I add a if statement here? What if I go with something like a pair of parentheses? I can add a if statement here, so I might as well even create a font here. So I could go ahead and create my color here as well. I'm going to go ahead and delete that firstly. Let's go ahead and paste my color here. before my color, I'm going to be creating a font. Here's the thing. Do I want to create a font here? Okay, I might remove this parameter of font from there. Okay, and let's create a font here. So I'm going to go with the SDL underscore fonts structure. Okay, this is going to be representing a font's local variable. Okay, it is going to be TDF underscore font, my true texture fonts font. Okay, this is going to be equal to, I think it was something like SDL underscore open fonts function, or was it TDF underscore open font? It was TDF underscore open fonts, there we go, with a pair of parentheses. Now this requires a few parameters. First is my file path, which is going to be fonts slash open sans. Okay, with a hyphen, I'll go with something like italic dot TDF. Next parameter is going to be a size. I'm going to set that equal to 24. Okay, Vivek, construct character or constructure. Is that how I pronounce it, guys? Guys, I feel I have a hard time, like, reading Hindi in general. Like, I can, like, I have a hard time reading any other language in general except English, although I was learning a bit of Spanish, but guys, I feel I don't have enough time for that. That's it. Now that I'm done creating my font, I'm done creating my color, I'm going to create a surface. So I'll go with SDL underscore surfaces structure, which does require a surface. I might go with something like text surface, so it's like more readable, which is going to be equal to TDF underscore hold up, guys, let me actually think. Okay, it is going to be TDF underscore render text underscore blended function. This function requires a few parameters. It requires a font parameter, which is going to be my font's local variable. It requires a text parameter, which is going to be my input text dot the C underscore string, because it requires a constant string and my input text is not a constant string, it's just a regular string. So the C dot string converts it to be a constant string. Then I'm going to go with a comma. My size slash length is going to be 0. And lastly, my final parameter, color, is going to be my colors parameter here. Then I end my entire function with a semicolon. Now that I'm done creating a a surface, I'm going to check if my surface was created properly. But I did remember a small detail. It's not that important, but in C++, we do add a if statement to check if we get errors. So I created a font here. I want to check if my font was not created properly. So I'm going to go with something like, if not font, if my font was not created properly, I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'm going to go with a standard C header with an insertion operator that says something like, let's say loading font error. So I got a loading font error. Then I'm going to go with another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore get errors function with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I return 1. Okay, now for my surface. Now that I've created a surface, wait, when I return 1, why do I get a red underline here? I return 1 to say something went wrong with this block of code, so go check it out. Can't I return 1 here? Hold up, guys. I should be able to return 1. Let's go ahead and try again. I go ahead and return 1, ending with a semicolon. Apparently not. I can't return 1 for some reason. Might have to check that out. Okay, I cannot return 1 because this is not a function. So I would not have to return anything here because we only return stuff with functions, but this is not a function. Instead, it is, this is a class and my constructor. So once I'm done adding my first parameter here, or my first if statement check, I'm going to go ahead and add one here as well. I'm going to check if my surface was created properly instead of was not created properly. So if my text surface, if it was created properly, then I'm going to go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and create a texture. To create a texture, I could use the SDL underscore textures structure, which consists of, let's say, something like a text textures as local variable representing it. This is going to be equal to the TDF underscore, actually the SDL underscore create texture from surface function. There we go, in case you guys couldn't see that. There we go. Okay, now my SDL underscore create texture from surface function requires two parameters. First is going to be my render parameter. Second is going to be my surface, which is my texture's surface or my text surface. And then I end my function with a semicolon. Once I'm done creating a texture, I want to get the width and height of my texture. So I'm going to create two floating point variables. First is a textures with width variable. Second is a textures with height variable. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to use the SDL underscore get texture sizes function. This function actually gets my texture's size. So this does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my texture, which is my text texture in this case. The second parameter is going to be the memory address of my texture's width. The third parameter is going to be the memory address of my texture's height, ending with a semicolon. Now that I have the width and height of my texture, I'm going to be creating a DST rect, which is a direction rect. Basically, the reason I am creating a rect is when I actually display my text on my window, I wouldn't be able to see it, but it's like a transparent rect. Anything that we display on my window is technically inside of a square. So I'm going to create that square now. I'm going to go with DST. I'm going to use the SDL underscore f rect structure, which has a DST rect local variable representing it. Then I'm going to go with something like DST rect.x-axis, which is going to be equal to 100, ending with a semicolon. My DST rect.y-axis is going to be equal to 100 as well, ending with a semicolon. And then my DST rect.width equals to my textures width, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, my DST rect.height equals to my textures height, ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and use the function that actually displays my render or my text on my window. So I could use the SDL underscore render texture function. Basically what the render texture function does is it tells my renderer to render my texture, which in this case is the text that my user types in the keyboard on my window. This function does require a bunch of parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be my texture, which in this case is going to be my text texture. The third parameter is going to be a source rect. I did not create a source rect, so I'm going to be setting that to be null PDR. That is basically a placeholder for like pointers. Lastly, the fourth parameter is going to be my DST rect, which is the position of my rect. You guys could like see the parameters. It says the SDL underscore f rect structure. Okay, once I'm done with that, I go ahead and end my entire function with a semicolon. Okay, and that's pretty much okay, that's actually pretty much it for my creating my texture and like actually displaying it on my window. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to use the SDL underscore destroy textures function. I want to destroy my texture. In this case, this is my text texture, ending with a semicolon. Then outside my statement, I destroy my surface as well, because whatever we create, we do gotta destroy them as well, or they keep like piling up in our memory. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore the destroy surface function with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be my text surface parameter. So I'm going to go with something like text surface, ending with a semicolon. And I spelled destroy wrong. This is going to be DSTROY. Okay, what else might I need? So this is actually pretty much it for my chat boxes function. I don't actually think I need anything else. Wait, actually, I might need a few event handling. So I'll exit outside of my render. Should this go outside of my should I have a separate function for this? Guys, maybe I drink some coffee real quick. Okay, let me keep it somewhere so it doesn't fall. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Okay, here's the thing. When I create a constructor here, do I want to add this part in a function? Maybe I actually do want to add this part in a function, so I'm gonna go ahead and... But if I add it in a function, I will not be able to use it. Can I create a function inside of my structure? What up, guys? Let's go ahead and create a void function called something like display text on Windows. I'm going to use a display text on window function. Contain it in a class function. Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. Okay, then I'm going to go with the pair of parentheses. My function does not require any parameters, but it has a pair of curly braces. I'm going to go ahead and copy all this. Okay, delete it from here. Then let's go ahead and paste this inside of my function. Okay, I do not have access to my textures with inside this. So, did I mess up somewhere here? Oh, because I do require a vendors as parameter. Maybe my constructor does not require this parameter, so I'm going to go ahead and... I do not think this actually works like this. Okay, so instead I'm going to go ahead and remove my void display window on this function. I'm going to go ahead and add that function outside of my constructor. So I'm going to go ahead and create a void pair of parentheses. Alright guys, void display. Let's go with something like display text. This doesn't make sense though. I think I'll just leave it like that and create a void draw function here. So I'm gonna go with something like draw, but I did already draw it in my window. I don't even think that I need this function. I might need something like a message history function. So I'm gonna go with something like message history. Now, for my message history, I might need a event handling as well. Instead of message history, I might go with something like event handling function. So event handle. Okay, handling. There we go. For my event handling, I'm going to be requiring a few parameters. Should I just go with event handle or text event? I might go with something like text event function that does require a parameter of my SDL underscore events structure with an asterisk to something like a event variable. Excuse me guys, this is going to be a constant event type variable. Okay, then I'm going to go, excuse me again guys, then I'm going to go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my event function, I'm going to be requiring something. I'm going to add a if statement to check if my event.type, let me just type this to the event. There we go. I'm going to go with something like if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore text underscore input. If my event type is text input, then I'm going to do something. I'm going to go with something like my input text. I'm going to go ahead and increment that by my event.text.text. Okay, what this basically means is I check if anything is being typed on my keyboard. If it is, then I go ahead and add that to my empty string of my input text here, if that makes any sense. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna add another if statement. Loving the stream, keep the good work up. Honestly, I appreciate you, Caleb Singh, is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you for that. That's it. I'm gonna go with another if statement with a pair of parentheses. I'm gonna do something like if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. What this event type checks if any of my buttons in my keyboard is currently being pushed down. If it is, then I'm gonna do something. Firstly, let's go ahead and I'm gonna use the SDL underscore key codes structure. This structure is, I don't know what the structure actually does. Okay, value of this type are used to represent keyboard keys. Okay, so this structure consists of all my keyboard keys, which is going to be equal to my event.key. This checks if any of my keys are pushed in my keyboard, like all my keys. Then I'm going to add another key here. This looks for the specific type of key that's currently being pushed in my keyboard. Now I'm going to add a switch. For my switch, I'm going to add a parameter of my key, and then I'm going to add a few cases. Let's say if my SDL's key is backspace, if my backspace is pressed on my keyboard, and there's at least something written on my window, then I'm going to do something. So I'm going to add something like a pair of parentheses, if not input text dot empty. So if my input text is not empty, something is written in my window. Then I want to delete something, like I want to delete when my user types backspace. So I'm going to go with something like my input text dot the pop underscore back function. What the pop underscore back function does is it like always removes a alphabet from the back of my, or from the last digit or the last alphabet of whatever I typed, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and that's pretty much it for my backspace. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my second case. My second case is gonna check if my SDL's key is returned. Okay, basically, what up guys, return. Okay, basically what the return means is that return is technically enter in my keyboard. If my user clicked enter, I want to display that stuff on my console. So I'm gonna go with something like a standard console output with an insertion operator. I'm gonna say something like player typed, okay, and then I'm gonna go with another insertion operator. Let's say something like input text. So my player typed my input text with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, once I do display my text on my console, I do want to remove it because like when I type something, it is stored inside of my input text, but when I display it on my console, I want to remove it from my input text so the next time I type something, it doesn't like mix up. So I'm gonna go with something like input text dot clear. This clears my entire input text ending with a semicolon, and then I'm gonna break as well because like we do gotta break in cases. And guys, I forgot to add a break here. Hold up guys, let's go ahead and add a break here. Okay, ending with a semicolon. Now, whatchamacallit, I do want to add message history as well because I did like whatchamacallit create a vector here. So when I type something and when something is displayed on my console, I want to save it in my message histories as vector as well before I do delete it like from existence. So I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Let's go ahead and firstly, if my enter is clicked, I want to go with something like my message histories as vector. Okay, did I spell history correct? How do you spell message history? There we go. Message history dot the push underscore back function. I want to push back something. I want to push back my input text. So I'm going to add input text here. And then I go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now that I've appended my message history or like my input text to my message history, I want to go ahead and use a for loop to actually show myself that it is actually saved in my message history and it's not just like for show. So I'm going to go with something like for every integer of I which equals to 0, while my I is less than, my message histories is vector dot the size function, while my while my I is less than my message history is size slash my vector is a size. I'm going to go ahead and increment my I by 1 and then add a pair of curly braces. Now, inside my for loop, I'm going to add a standard console output with an insertion operator that is going to say something like history, or I'll go with something like message history. Okay, and then I go with another insertion operator. My message history that is going to be displaying is going to be my message history at index of I, and then I go with another insertion operator of a standard end line, ending with a semicolon. Maybe I want to display decorative text as well, guys. So how do I do that? Let's see. So once I push back, I'm going to go with something like a standard console output with an insertion operator. Okay, that does say, I don't know, maybe a bunch of hyphens. Guys, does this even make sense? And then I go with something like a forward slash new line. So I'm gonna go back here, I'll go with a forward slash new line, ending with a semicolon. Then I'm gonna go ahead and copy that. Okay, and paste it down here as well. Guys, I don't know if this is gonna make anything look pretty at all. Okay, I think it's worth a try, guys. Okay, and then I go with a standard end line here. And that's like pretty much it. I want to see so bad if this works. That's all. Let me drink some coffee real quick. Guys, the coffee stayed on my table. There's no way. Hold up, guys. Let me get a tissue real quick. Guys, since when did the coffee's glass leak? Hold up, guys. Let me actually tear my tissue up because I do not want my table to like be stained and everything. Okay, let's go ahead and wipe that out. Guys, my table is kind of stained. Okay, I think I'm gonna like keep this above a tissue now. Alright, perfect. That's it. Next up, let's see. This should be pretty much it for my class now. So I have the text events function that does consist of my message history as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit outside of my class now and create a main function. So I'm gonna go with integer main, add a pair of parentheses. Now my main function does require two parameters. The first parameter is gonna be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be a pointer towards an array of argv. And then I go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside my main function, I'm going to be adding a comment that says something like initialize SDL. Did I spell initialize correct? There we go. Hold up, guys. Let me actually type initialize correct. Okay, now to initialize my SDL3, I'm going to be using an if statement. I'm going to use an if statement to initialize my SDL and also check if it was not initialized properly. So I'm going to go with something like if not SDL underscore init, SDL underscore init underscore video. If my SDL's video section was not initialized properly, I'm going to go ahead and add a standard console output with an insertion. I'm going to display myself an error. So I'm going to go with standard C error with an insertion operator. That is going to say something like SDL underscore init error. So I get a SDL underscore init error. Then I go with another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore get errors as function. This function actually gets me an error. Then I'm going to go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to return one saying something went wrong in this block of code. Okay, once I'm done initializing SDL, I'm going to go ahead and add another comment that says something like initialize TDF. TDF is basically my true texture font because I will be using fonts here. Now to initialize my TDF, I'm going to go ahead and use I'm going to actually initialize it the exact same way I initialize my SDL. So I'm going to go with something like if not TDF, so if not TDF underscore init, if my TDF was not initialized properly, I'm going to do something. I'm going to display myself a standard C error with an insertion operator that says something like TDF underscore init error. Okay, and then I go with another insertion operator. At this time, I'm going to use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'm going to use the standard get or the SDL underscore get errors as function. Then I go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Alright guys, there we go. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and return one saying something went wrong in this block of code, so go check it out. Now, once I'm done initializing my SDL, I'm going to add another comment that says something like game variables. Game variables is basically going to be the basic general game variables that I'm going to be needing. For example, a constant integer of, I don't know, maybe a width variable. This is going to be my Windows' width. I'm going to be setting that to be something like 1000 ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like a constant integer of height, which is going to be equal to 800 ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with the game variables, let's go ahead and add another comment. This time, I'm going to go ahead and add a comment that says something like create a window and renderer. So this time, I'm going to create both my window and my renderer at the same time. Okay, guys, do you guys think double space would look good here? I think double space would look much better. There we go. Okay, now to create my window and renderer, I would require 2 pointers. The first pointer is going to be representing the SDL underscore windows structure. I'll call my pointer something like window. And for the time being, I'm going to set this equal to null PR, which is a placeholder for pointers. And the second pointer that I'm going to be needing is going to be representing my SDL underscore renderers structure, which is going to be called renderer. That is going to be set to something like null PDR, ending with a semicolon. Now that I'm done creating both my pointers, I'm going to be using the function that actually creates both my window and my renderer at the same time. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore create window and renderers function. This function creates my window and my renderer at the same time, but it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title / a caption for my window. So I'm going to say something like SDL3 window created. How long have you been coding for? Honestly, it's been like about 2 hours, but I do gotta end the stream soon because this is like my finals week for my college. So I do gotta study my college stuff as well. That's it. The second and the third parameter is going to be my Windows' width. So I'm gonna go with something like width, and my Windows' height. So okay, and then the fourth parameter is going to be a flag for my window. If you guys don't want to add a flag, you guys could go with something like 0, but I do want to add a flag that makes my window resizable. So I'm going to go ahead and add the SDL underscore window underscore resizable function. So there we go. Okay, no, I mean, when you started, honestly, I started C++ 79 days ago. When I started SDL, I think about like 20 days ago now. That said, I started like programming in general about 179 days ago, where I spent 100 days learning SDL. Actually, I spent 100 days learning Python, and I spent 79 days learning C++ in general, like SDL and C++, if that makes any sense. Okay, lastly, my fifth and sixth parameter is going to be the memory address of my window and the memory address of my renderer. Then I go ahead and exit my function. Okay, now that I've created both my window and my renderer, I'm going to be using an if statement to check if they were not created properly, because apparently in C++ we do gotta give ourselves errors. So I'm going to go with something like if pair of parentheses Let's say something like if not window, okay, or not a renderer, if either my window was not created properly or my renderer was not created properly, then I'm going to do something. I'm going to firstly display myself an error text. I'm going to go with a standard C error. Okay, with an insertion operator, I'm going to say that I got something like a SDL underscore create window and a renderer error. Okay, perfect. Then I go with another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets my error. So I'm going to go with SDL underscore the get error function. Okay, then I go with another insertion operator. Okay, so I'm going to go with another insertion operator and use a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if either my window or my renderer was not created properly, I do want to exit/quit my SDL. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to return one saying something went wrong in this block of code, so go check it out. And that's pretty much it for creating my window and renderer. Now I'm going to add another comment that says something like, did I double space everything? I think I double spaced everything. Okay, I'm going to say add a comment that says something like create objects. This is where I'm going to be creating my object. I just have one object. The object is going to be from my chat boxes class. So I'm going to go with something like my chat boxes class has a CB object, which is going to be which is going to have a few parameters. Okay, what parameters does it require? Let's see. So let's scroll all the way up. Okay, it requires a renderer as this parameter, so I'm going to scroll all the way down. I'm going to add a renderer as this parameter here, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to add another comment that says something like main loop. This is going to be where my main game loop actually happens. So I'm going to create a few variables. The first variable is going to be a boolean variable of is running, which is initially going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. The second variable is going to be an event variable. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore events structure. And I'm going to, represent that through a SDL underscore events local variable. Then I create a while loop. So I'm going to go with something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true. I'm going to do something. I'm going to add a comment that says something like event loop. Event loop now is basically going to be a while loop inside of a while loop / a nested while loop. And my event loop or my events as while loop is going to be consisting a parameter of the SDL underscore poll events function. And my SDL underscore poll events function does require a parameter of the memory address of my events variable. Now, basically what the SDL underscore poll events function does is it like looks for all the events that I'm looking for inside of my while loop. If any of those events is met, it does what I tell it to do. For example, I could go with something like if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be false, ending with a semicolon. What this basically means is like if my player clicked the top right X button and exited the window, my entire program ends. Okay, that's my first event check. I'm pretty sure that I don't gotta add my other event checks, right? Let's scroll all the way up. Okay, let's see. What was my function name? It was text event. So I gotta use what parameter did it require? It required the parameter of let's see, of my SDLs as event. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll all the way down. Let's see if this works. So I'm gonna go with my chat boxes object dot the text events function with a pair of parentheses that does require parameter of my event, ending with a semicolon. Moment of truth, guys, did this actually work? Because this consists of almost everything that I could ever dream of. Okay, next up, I'm going to go ahead and exit outside of my while loop. Add a comment that says something like cleanup. Now, for my cleanup, firstly, I want to destroy my window. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore destroy window. I destroy my window with a pair of parentheses that does require window parameter, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore destroy renderer. I'm going to destroy my renderer with a pair of parentheses that does require parameter of my renderer. And then I'm going to quit my SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to return 0. Now, I forgot one thing. I'm going to be exiting outside of my event loop, adding a comment here that says something like fill screen. Okay, this is going to be me actually filling my screen with a color. And if I want to actually use colors, that's where the renderer comes in use, because renderer is like a paintbrush that colors what I tell it to color. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore set render. So I'm setting my renderer to draw a color. So basically I'm adding a color to my renderer. Now my set render draw colors, this function does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be an RGB value. I want my screen to be, I don't know, white. So I'm going to go with something like 255, 255, 255. And lastly, the fourth parameter is going to be an alpha slash opacity, how transparent or how not transparent I want my color to be. In this case, I want my white color, I want my window to be white and not transparent at all. Bro, you look good. Honestly, I appreciate you captures that actually means the word to me, guys. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done setting a color to my renderer, I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL underscore render clear function. Basically, what the render clear function does is it like fills slash clears my entire screen with the color of my renderer. For the time being, my renderer is white. Then I'm gonna enter with a semicolon. Where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer much, but these days I did like stop answering that for like safety reasons, guys. That's it. Make some coffee. Feel like I'm kind of thirsty, guys. Okay, like your accent. Honestly, I appreciate your captions, guys. I get that really rare. That's it. Once I'm done filling my screen, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like, maybe I might not need a graphics here because I already added like all the graphics that I could think of in my constructor here. Okay, so I might not add graphics. In the other hand, I am going to be presenting my renderer on my screen. Maybe I go with like double space because I feel that looks kind of cool. Okay, now let's add a double space here, add a comment here that says something like present a renderer. So I'm going to present my renderer on my screen. To do that, I could use the SDL underscore render present function. Basically, what the render present function does is it says my renderer to present itself. If I didn't use my render present function, my screen would just be black and white because there would be no color. That's it. Lastly, I'm going to add FPS. FPS is frames per second. To add FPS, I could use the SDL underscore delay function. This function requires a parameter in milliseconds. I'm going to add 16 milliseconds, which is technically 60 frames per second. And that's pretty much it. Now, moment of truth, guys. If I were to hit Control S, actually, I think this would look much better. There we go. If I were to hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Hope I don't get an error. There we go. I get my first window here. I get my second window here. So far, it is going kind of good, guys. Let's type something like hello. Okay, I cannot display my text. If I were to hit enter, message type, message history, message type, message history, player type, message history. Okay, guys, I think I did almost everything correct. There might be one thing that I messed up on. Hold up, guys. When I create a constructor here, everything in this function, I'm gonna go ahead and copy that. And then I delete it from here. My function does not... Guys, it kind of hurts to say this, but I don't think I might need a constructor here. So instead of constructor, I'm gonna go with something like methods. Okay, now for my methods, let's go ahead and create a void method called something like graphics. Okay, maybe I'm gonna go with something like graphics. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. Okay, now my graphics method does require a SDL underscore renderers parameter, which is going to be my renderer. Okay, then I go with the pair of curly braces and paste everything here. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and return one here as well, because now this is technically a function, ending with a semicolon. It is a function. Why can't I return one then? Oh, because it is a void function, guys. What if I change this to something like an integer function? Then I can return 1. But here's the thing, why would I want to change it to like an integer function? I'm going to keep it to be void. Let's go ahead and change that to be void. Okay, hold up, guys, there we go. Let's change the integer to be void. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code again, before I do it, Control S, after my game variables, after creating my window, this does not require renders as parameter. It does not require a pair of parentheses in general. Okay, under my event loop, after I fill my screen before I present my renderer, I'm going to go ahead and add a comment that says something like graphics. For my graphics, I'm going to go with my cb dot the graphics is function. Okay, now my graphics is method does require parameter of my renderer, ending with a semicolon. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my first window here. Okay, and then I get my second window here. Last time he closed his mouth was 6 minutes ago. Guys, did I actually? Okay, that's it. Let's see. So, let me type something like hello. Guys, it does not work. Okay, let's see. I do get my player typed in message history here, but apparently my message does not actually type up there. Let's look at this part carefully. So when I hit enter, actually before I hit enter, let me think, how is it that I actually display something on my window? Let's read this part carefully. So I go with void graphics that requires a render parameter. I create a font here. I checked if my font was not created properly. I go with SDL underscore color. I create a color. I create a texture surface. If texture, okay, so I create my texture from my surface that requires a render parameter and my textures is parameter. I get my texture size. I create a direction rect and I display my render on my screen. Everything is correct. Okay, here's a gift for you, a bathtub. Okay, you know you can use the double connotations instead of 2 forward slashes. Honestly, yeah. Okay, that's sad. I don't know why I use 2 forward slashes though. That's sad. I destroy my texture. I destroy my. This should work. Why does it not work? Let's think. Let's think. If my event dot type, what if I add my event checks like okay, what if I just basically added my event checks outside? Am I missing something here? It could be update. I might not have update. Hold up, guys. Let's go with something like Control C, copy that. Let's get some /chat here. Let's paste it. Go with Shift Enter. See something like say. I feel like I messed up? Question mark. I don't see a text on my window. Is it because I didn't add a update? Question mark. I honestly don't know how to add that. Okay, let's see. Maybe I drink some water real quick. I'm kind of thirsty, guys. Actually, coffee real quick. Okay, listen, people. This is exactly why organizing your code into classes can trip you if you miss something crucial. Look at what you did. Your graphics function creates a new font every single frame. That's insane waste. SDL won't render your text correctly. If the font is failing to load or you constantly create / destroy texture and effectively, this is probably why you see nothing. Here's the broken issue broken down. Font loading graphics. If TDF underscore open frame fails, the path font missing font should be loaded once, not every frame. Update function, you don't strictly need an update here, but usually update handles logic. Okay, fixed strategy, move your font loading out of graphic, make it a member variable of chat box and load it once in the constructor. Keep text event as it is. Okay, change color to 000 your background is white. If your background is white, I want it to be white actually. Okay, I see. Let's go all the way up here. Okay, so my color, instead of going with 255, okay, I want to change this to be a black color. So I'm going to go with black color. And then I create my font once. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it right here. So let's go ahead and paste it here. Okay, so I create my font there. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, what is this? What is this prompt classes? Prompt class. Honestly, I don't think I had a prompt for the class. Okay, that said, let me get my first terminal there in my window. Here, guys, the moment of truth. Did this part work? Okay, if I were to type something, it still does not display on my window. But if I hit enter, my enter does work. Let me think real carefully. Okay, is my font correct? So let me go with Control Shift L. Did I spell my font correct? Is my file path correct? What up, guys? So it's font / open sans ITALIC. Did I spell it as ITALIC? ITALIC. Okay, I think it is correct. Okay, let's go with Control C, copy that. Let's get some C/GPT here. Okay, let's go ahead and paste it. Go with Shift Enter and say something like Sensei. I got my font outside of my graphics method, but I still don't see my text? Question mark. Okay, it's a security mirror feature. Oh, I see. Okay, that's it, people. Listen carefully. You're so close, but you're still making the same rookie mistake that will silently destroy your rendering. Here's the problem. You initialize it directly into the class body that runs before as the TDF underscore init. Okay, well, in that case, I could go ahead and require a parameter in my graphics of my renderer and my TDF underscore font, which is a font. There we go. Okay, this is going to be a pointer towards my fonts. And then I go ahead and copy this. Let's go ahead and copy that, delete that from here. Let's go all the way down here. I create my main function. I initialize my SDL. Okay, and before my main loop, actually before I create my window and my renderer, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like load fonts. I'm gonna load my font here. Okay, and then I go ahead and add a if statement as well. I'm gonna go ahead and copy my if statement to check if my font was not loaded properly. Okay, let's go ahead and actually delete this extra space. Maybe that looks good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and paste it under my load fonts section right here. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and return one as well, saying something went wrong here. Now, if I were to hit Control H to save the code and run the command, this should work, guys. I'm kind of positive. Wait, never mind, it does not work. Okay, too few arguments in function call. Oh, I see. Guys, my bad. I actually forgot to add my fonts parameter here. Let's go with something like font. Now, if I hit Control H to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, it's like invisible because you're because you set it no font before. That does make sense. Okay, there we go. So I get my first window pop up here and my second window here. Okay, let's type something like hello. If I hit enter, why can't I see? Could it be my color now? Could it be my color now? What up? Okay, I don't think it's my color because nothing is displayed. Okay, maybe I go with Control A, Control C again. Let's get some t/chatgp back here. Okay, guys, I don't think I am messing up somewhere though. Let's go ahead and paste this here. Let's see something like sensei. It still does not show for some reason, question mark. Okay, let's see, people. You've been spending too long on this text not showing mess. Let me pull you back on track. Listen carefully. The reason your text is still not showing in class TDF underscore render blender requires initialized font. So does these functions go outside? Okay. Fix. Oh my gosh, guys, there's no way. Okay, don't tell me this was the reason I did not start my font. SDL underscore start. Let's go with something like start. What up, guys? Let's go with something like SDL underscore start text font size function. Guys, there's no way that this was the reason that it did not work. Okay, SDL underscore start. I spelled start wrong. Hold up, guys. There we go. Start text font. Start text input. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, guys, this is definitely working because that was such a silly mistake actually. Hold up, guys. Let me check if it actually does work. I'm pretty sure it should. It does work. If I would hit enter, it goes to my message history. Guys, apparently everything was like correct here. So my message history does save all this and I type this. Guys, this is kind of silly. Like, apparently I don't even think I had to like whatchamacallit, add an extra parameter here of font. Like, everything is initialized here. Like, I didn't even need to create like load a font here. All I had to do was whatchamacallit, start my text input. I told you is the font. That does actually make sense. I forgot to start my text input. No wonder my font wasn't showing. Now let's go ahead and copy this. And guys, I might actually wrap the stream up here. Let's go ahead and paste. Let's go with chip entity and say something like sensei ... It works! Exclamation. Okay, that said, I don't take any credit for this question. Okay, because I did get help with the final part. Okay, that said, I am planning to end the stream right now because this is my... hold up, guys, because this is my finals week for my college. So before I do end the stream, is there Anything that you want to say to the viewers, question mark? Okay, let's see. Okay, we cannot be real. Try and code something by using docs and not ChatGPT. Lol, I did try the docs. I feel like that takes like much longer and it's like more complex as well. That's it. I don't use ChatGPT. I use knowledge, guys. That does make sense. It's like I do like use ChatGPT to understand the code. Once I do understand, I do type it myself. That's it. Listen up, people. To all viewers who stuck through this chaos, you just watched my people tackle SDL3 text input and chat box logic. Remember this, every failure is a step closer to mastery. If you think you can't figure it out, think again, because right here, right now, we turned struggle into that code. And to all my pupils, I'm proud you fought through the frustration, kept your focus, and got this chat box running. Hugs, headbacks, and a big virtual kiss for you hard work. Okay, for your hard work, guys, that did not make me blush. Now, go crush those finals, make them feel your determination. Stream viewers, take this to the heart. The difference between winners and losers is just who keeps going when it gets hard, said by Sarah Sensei. Guys, I did not think you cannot spell, guys. I think that does make sense, guys. I should work on my typos. Okay, you literally cannot be serious, guys. I think it's just the knowledge. That's it. Alright, people, go study, crush your finals, and when you come back, we're gonna take this chat box to the next level. Message history scrolling, text wrapping, and maybe even more maybe even emojis. That sounds kind of cool. You ready to end the stream song? Okay, White Father, so much aura. Honestly, I haven't like heard of that. That's it. Let's go to my main camera. Alright, guys, that's pretty much it for the stream. Let me drink my coffee real quick. There we go. And actually go back to my main camera. There we go. Alright, guys, so that was pretty much it for the stream. That's it. I did want to stream for longer, but this is my finals this week, so I can't stream for like much longer. That's it. If you guys did enjoy the stream, make sure to like, share, subscribe, like, yeah, so my algorithm stream makes you smile, and subscribing is like it's here on top. And guys, I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and I will start multi-streaming on Instagram and TikTok as well. So if you guys do enjoy my content and haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me there. The link was going to be in the description, and also join the Discord server. That's where I do talk to you guys and like answer your guys' questions and all that stuff. That's in the link is in the description as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace. Guys, I think there were a few comments. Okay, I do know, but not Viv should fix the got it sounds annoying. Okay, give it some memory. Honestly, I did like actually append them in like a vector of memory. That's it. Let's go to end the stream now.